Officials from Turkey, Iran, and Russia are in Geneva to announce a 150-member constitutional committee responsible for drafting a new constitution for Syria. The committee is part of the Sochi Agreement and will include 50 members from the regime, 50 opposition members, and the rest will be independent. Yahya al-Aridi is the spokesman for the Syrian Negotiation Commission. He joins me now in the studio. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us today. The UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, has been trying to clinch agreement on the 150-member committee since the start of the year, since January. Why has it been such a challenge in just putting this committee together?
Well, it has been really a challenge for de Mistura and for Syria in general, because there is a party out there that tries so hard to obstruct any tilt towards any political solution. And the formation of a constitutional committee that will draft a constitution for Syria is part of a political solution. It is the gate, or it's the entrance into a political solution. The regime has all along followed the military way of solving things as it sees fit. Now, any political solution like elections, like constitution, like another political body that would lead a transition is not in the regime's dictionary or agenda. That's why it has been blocking all that, finding all sorts of reasons or pretexts. For instance, when the UN meetings, general meetings on the 25th of September of this year, the foreign minister of the regime, the Assad regime, was in the UN, and he met Guterres and said to him, we just had certain conditions in order to agree on that constitutional committee. And the General Secretary didn't agree to that. He said, as we were told, that there could be a constitutional committee your way, but it would not have the UN blessing. And that's why it has been delayed day after day, month after month, because of the obstruction of the regime and those who support it, in particular, Iran. Right.
So could the change in constitution then, could that be seen as a threat to Assad?
It is a real threat to Assad, because if a constitution, for instance, states that the president of this particular country cannot behave this way, definitely this is a real threat. And that's why they are trying to rehabilitate the regime. The Russians and the Iranians are trying to rehabilitate the regime, and they are succeeding somehow, but in reality, it can never happen, rehabilitating such a regime.
So where will they begin? I mean, it's such a huge task in rebuilding Syria. Where does their priority lie?
Well, the priority lies in just the formulation or drafting of a constitution that would make Syria safe of what happened during the past 8 years. Those were devastating years. And the regime behaved in a way that has nothing to do with constitution, that has nothing to do with human rights. It has destroyed half of the country, displaced half of the population. In jail there are hundreds of thousands of people, and the tragedy continues. And this could be a way in order to enter into a new era supervised by the UN, because you have to have the UN out there. Because if the regime is to be reinstated or rehabilitated, we would have the same tragedy continuing in Syria. And that's the problem. So this could be a possible solution to start with this Constitutional Committee.
All right, certainly a challenge ahead. Yahya al-Aridi, thank you for joining us today.